Welcome back to the Library Choice YouTube channel. Today's class we are going to learn how to make this beautiful bustier blouse with overlap yoke. You can see the yoke that comes from one side and then it goes all the way up to the waistline of the blouse, and then it has this beautiful deep V yoke neckline. It's a very simple tutorial as you have seen, and it's beginner friendly. This is something you like to learn. Kindly stay tuned to the end of this tutorial. Thank you. Okay, so to make this, I already have my half scale pattern here and I'm working with a shoulder dart. So I have a detailed tutorial on how you can create this on the channel. So if you don't know how I came about this pattern, you can check that out on the channel. So because of the nature of the pattern we are making, a half scale bodies will not do, but I already have this. I've been working with this, so I'm just going to transfer this pattern to a full scale. Okay, so what I mean by this is I put my paper on fold now before placing this pattern on it. Then after placing this pattern on it, I used my tracing wheel to transfer all of this marking. You just need to use it to mark it, and then you're going to see it on your new pattern perforated. Then I used my marker to mark it out. So now you can see that I have my two side complete. So this is a full scale bodies, and this is what I'm going to be using for this tutorial. So to start, it's a very simple pattern. The first thing I'm going to do now is to close my shoulder dart, okay, so that I can start marking out the shape or the pattern that I want for this. So you can just work with this your regular shoulder dart like you have it, or you can just tighten it a bit by just coming out here by maybe half an inch or 1 inch on both leg of your dart, okay, and then you connect that back to your bust points. Okay, this is actually optional, for it gives more fitting. So you can see me coming out by half an inch on both sides of my dart leg, and then I'm going to connect it back. So I just tightened this by around 1 inch, and then I shared it half on both sides. So now after doing this, what I'm going to do now is to close these two darts, and then I'm going to transfer it to the waist. But before I close the dart, if you notice on the pattern, it has a shape. It is shaped in such a way that one of my patterns, one of the design has a shoulder, while the other side is an off shoulder. So for the off shoulder side, I can work with this shoulder pattern that I have, because I'm not going to be doing anything on the shoulder area. But for the one with shoulder, so that it's going to be easy for me, I'm just going to convert this to a armhole princess dart, so that this shoulder area is going to be free, which is why I'm going to close this dart and then transfer it to the armhole. So to do that now, I'm just going to mark around 4 to 4.5 inches on my armhole area on this side that's going to have the shoulder, okay, which is this side. I'm marking the 4.5 inches, and then with my curved ruler I'm going to create an armhole dart. So here from my bust point, so let me label this. This is the bust point, this is the under bust, and this is my waist, okay, and then this is the armhole line. So on this bust point from here now, following the bust curve that I already have, I'll make sure that it is continuous, and then I'm going to connect this like this for my armhole princess dart on this side alone. That's the side with the shoulder. So after doing that, what I'm going to do now is to open up my waist dart. You can just open it on one side first, so that you can easily transfer this dart. So now you can see me cutting it, and then I'm going to cut up to the bust point mark. I'm doing this for the two sides, okay. You can also open it on the armhole area for this side as well. So after opening it up, what I'm going to do next is to go ahead and close this dart. So you can see I have closed this now, and then I've transferred the dart to the waist. So with my masking tape, I'm going to hold it down like this, and then I'm going to do the same thing for the other side as well. I'm going to close the dart, the shoulder dart, and then I'm going to hold it down. Okay, so now this is what my pattern is looking like. So now I can map out the shape of my neckline. So for the neckline, like I said, one has a shoulder while the other does not have a shoulder. So I'm working with a natural neckline of 3 inches. Yours can be wider. So from this, the center front, you can also put it on fold like this, and then I'm going to mark out the 3 inches like this. So I'm marking this on the other side as well. This is my 3 inches, and that is where the shoulder is going to start from the one with the shoulder. So now this is the shoulder, this is my shoulder point. Now on the center point, this is my center line. I can see it. I'm going to mark the depth of this neckline. So now it's very, very deep, and this is actually dependent on you and what you want to. If you are going by the thumbnail, it's almost around the under bust area, and it is very, very revealing. So if you don't want yours to be that revealing, you can just make it as moderate as possible. So for me, I think I'm just going to be going with around 10 inches. That's almost at the bust point already. It's also very deep, so I'm just leaving it at 10 inches. So what I'm going to do now is to connect from my shoulder here all the way to the neck depth that I have, which is 10 inches here, using a curved ruler. So I have connected for the part that has the shoulder, you can see. So for the part that does not have the shoulder, that's the half shoulder part, I'm going to mark again around 4 inches and 4.5 inches here on my armhole line, and then using my curved ruler, I'm going to connect it. So now when you're placing your curved ruler, you have to be very mindful of the way you're placing it, because if you place like this, it's going to, let me see if I can just use a faint marker so that we'll see the difference. It's going to refill more. I don't want your nipples to be hard. So placing my ruler and my curved ruler like this, and then I mark it out, you can see how much. So all of this space will be revealing. But if you place it like this, okay, it's still going to consume more for you, a little bit at least. It's going to give you some height on the nipple area. So I'm placing it like this, and then by the time I draw my curve, you can see what I have. So this is what I have. You can see that it has concealed even this part. Okay, with this you can see that this even close more for you compared to using this side of the roller. So I just thought to explain that to us. So now the lower part of the bodice is done. Now you can see that we have created our neckline, and this is the neckline that we have. So the next thing now is to make the upper part. You can see that there is an overlap. It's like a yoke, but it's cut together. It's just going to overlap on this lower part. So to do that, I'm going to be using the same pattern for this, but I'm going to be using another color of marker so that we can differentiate between both of them. So for that, you need to mark out your neckline first. So this neckline is going to be 3 inches by 3 inches. So the depth is 3 inches, as you can see. And you can see that I already marked out my 3 inches here. So I'm going to just connect it like this. So you can do this on fold as well, and then use your tracing wheel. Okay. And then for the other side, I'm going to connect my neckline. Okay, so this is my neckline for the yoke part. That's 3 inches width by 3 inches depth, because it's not so wide. So after that, the next thing now is to create the shape for this yoke as well. So for this, I'm going to come down from the shoulder area. I'm going to come down by around 3 to 4 inches. So I can stick to 3.5 inches. So this is 3.5 inches here. And then on this waistline, because it's continuous to the waist, so on the waistline here, I have a seam allowance of 1.5 inches on this pattern. So I'm just going to mark that out, and then I can divide what I have from my dart leg into 2. Okay, this because this is how I want this pattern to go. You can decide on whatever measurements, or you can just from your dart leg, you can measure maybe 2.5 inches, 3 inches, depending on what you want basically. So from the dart leg here, now I'm measuring 2.5 inches, and this is what I have. So now from there, I'm going to connect this all the way to the point that I've marked here. So for this, you can use your free hand, or you can just try to use a pattern so that you can have something nice and straight. So now I'm using this curve to make this now, and then I'm just checking out how this is going to come out. So I have turned the curve, and then I'm just trying to match the one on the waistline to this part here. So like I said, you just have to, you can use your free hand, but if you're using a curve, you just have to be mindful of how you're doing this. So using my free hand, you can see how I have connected it. So now this is the yoke. The one with the red marker is the yoke, while the one here with the black is our actual pattern. So now to cut this, what I'm going to do now is to go ahead and trace out this yoke, okay, this red part, okay, like this. I'm going to go ahead and trace it out on a fresh pattern before I cut out my actual pattern. So I have a fresh pattern here now. So with my tracing wheel, everywhere that I have this red marking, I have used my tracing wheel to transfer it to this fresh pattern. You transfer this little armhole that you have, this is also part of your yoke. You transfer the shoulder, the neckline, and then this full armhole, and then you transfer this all the way to the waistline here, as you can see. So I've transferred all of this. What I'm going to do now is to bring out the pattern, and then with my free hand, because I can see the perforated line, I'm just going to connect like this. And then for the neckline, I can also see the neckline. You can also use the curve for this. So I just want, okay, so this is what I cut. So this is my yoke now. I'm just going to bring my scissors, and then I'll cut out the yoke. So after this, I can cut out the actual shape of my design. Okay, so I have cut it out now, and this is the shape that I have for the yoke. Sorry, the pattern keeps shifting. So this is the space that I have for the yoke. Now to cut out my actual pattern, I'm going to cut the neckline. Okay, so now we are cutting on the black line. Okay, and then I'm going to cut the neckline for the part that has the shoulder as well. And then now I'm going to cut the armhole princess dart, and then cut out the excess waist darts as well. So I'm going to do the same thing for the other side. So for the other side, I'm going to cut out this waist dart as well. And then I'm going to cut through the dark line. Okay, so this is what I have. This is the actual pattern that I'm working with. Okay, so this is the one for the shoulder, and then this is the yoke that we are going to be placing on it. So we mark the one with the shoulder together with the shoulder like this, and then it's just going to, okay, sorry, you connect the one with the shoulder together like this, and then this is going to come on top of it like this. Okay, so you must have sewn the dart together. So now I'm just going to place them close like this, so that I can place the yoke for you to see what it's going to look like. So after closing the dart, you mark the shoulder to the shoulder as you have shown, and then it's just going to lay on top of it like this, following the line that you have. So you can see that we have, I'm going to hold this with my scissors for us to see. So it's just going to lay on top of it like this, and then this is going to follow this line. So this is what you're going to have by the time you are done. I'll go ahead now, so you can see the amount of exposure that we have on the chest. This is still moderate, but if you want yours to be bigger than this, you can go lower, or when shaping the neckline, you can just make it come down depending on what you want basically. But this is fine for me, so I'll go ahead now and cut out these patterns on my fabric. Okay, so I'm gonna have to cut it out on my fabric. this is the lower part, and you can see that I added allowances on the dark lines because I don't want to have any shortage because of the yoke that I'm placing on it. So you had allowances where necessary. These are the 3 patterns for the lower part, and then for the yoke I have also cut out my yoke. So I cut out lining for each of them exactly the way I've cut out the main fabric. So what I'm going to do now is to go ahead and turn the yoke with lining. So you're just going to sew it and then turn it out. So you turn the neckline, and then this part that is going to show, I'm going to turn it, and then I can open it out from my armhole area. Okay, so for this as well, I'm going to go ahead and sew the dark lines together. I'm going to sew the main fabric separately and then the lining separately. Then I'm going to use it to turn out this neckline for the lining as well, because it's going to equally show. So I'll do all of this and then I'll bring it back to show us what we have. Okay, so I'm gonna head to sew it. You can see the lower part now is together. This is what we have. So if you're padding this, you just need to iron your wadding before you sew, or you can use a ready-made bra cup. So this is the shape that I have, and this is my lining as well. So I'm just going to place the lining on top of the main fabric, and then I'm going to use it to turn it out. And then for this, I've also sewed in, so I'm going to notch it at the necessary places, and then I'll turn it out and iron it. So I just sew it on the curved part as well as the neckline. Okay, so I have turn it out. As you can see, this is what the inside looks like. You can see how neat it is, and this is what it looks like on the outside. So you're going to iron this cuff area as well, and this is what we have for now. And for the yoke as well, I've gone ahead to iron it, and you can see that I have turned it out as well. So this is the neckline neatly turned, and this is the outer part. So what I just need to do now is to match everything up like this. I'm going to hold it with my pin tentatively, and then I'm going to come here as well and match up the armhole, and I'll hold that with my pin as well. So because we made use of the same pattern, it's just going to make everything easier for you. It's going to be exactly the same, so you're not going to run into any problem. You can see the side seam as well. Everything is just going to match, and then using the same pattern as well is going to allow you to see how opened it's going to be on the chest area, so you'll be able to adjust it accordingly. So now what I'm going to do now is to go ahead and hold this down with a stitch. So on this part as well, you are going to sew it and hold it. So if you have like a trimming, you can place it along this line so that it can make this more pronounced. You can have your trimming on the neckline area and also along the line that the yoke is following, so that it can be more pronounced. And then you're just going to cut out your regular back bodies, whatever back design that you want. You're going to cut it out and then sew it to the back. So I'm just going to be placing just a regular black on this, so that I'll take it to the mannequin for us to see what this looks like. I just have to show us the back that I'm working with. So you can see this is just a regular back panel. So you just cut your lining and use it to turn out the lining, the fabric as well, before you place your front and back together, and then you sew it. So you make sure that the shoulder you're working with has to be exactly the same, and then you sew it together on the shoulder, just to do for our regular bodies as well as the side seam. Okay, so I'll go and do this now. Okay, so this is what the blouse looks like on the mannequin. Now you can see the design that we have on the yoke. It comes from the one with the shoulder and then goes to the other side up to the waistline, and I just use this trimming to make it more obvious. So you can also use another color of fabric for your yoke as well, and I also use the trimming on the neckline area. So you can see how open the bust is. This is still moderate, so you have to be very cautious of how you place your curve. If you place it too much, it's going to be exposing the nipple area, and you don't want that. So you have to make sure that it is as moderate as possible, and you can fix any sleeve of your choice. I hope you enjoyed making this beautiful tutorial with me. If you enjoyed it, let us know in the comment section. Like, comment and subscribe to our channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.